tried, and I tried hard. And I crashed and burned, and you will hear this story repeated throughout the book from other moms. We were supposed to be happy, weren't we? That's what the image of motherhood kept telling us. So why wasn't I? Take it like a man, smile and stop complaining. For child support, good, caring, and safe daycare, supportive work environments, the ability to be a primary caregiver in society and not be judged, the reality of trying to meet our children's needs while living in or very close to poverty. As an activist, poet, essayist, and feminist punk woman, I just knew there had to be communities and real stories out there. I just had to dig. This was in 2002. There was and still is a large hip mama audience and movement that's rich in parenting tales. In a matter of weeks, I consumed every available book and article on what I considered real-life motherhood. The bulk of it was mostly written, and very well written, by Ariel Gore and the contributors of Hit Mamazine and Momophonic. And a book, one singular book, that I could find on the subject in 2002 was Adrienne Rich's A Woman Born. This book was elemental in taking the lid off of Pandora's box in 1976. But there seemed to be an overall dry run, or perhaps general silencing or repackaging of mothers between then and the emergence of the hit mama work. I related to these few examples of printed literature, and like a starving animal, I engulfed them. I exhausted these shared moments of time captured and published by Hit Mama, and the intellectual probing and personal assessments of motherhood by one of my favorite poets, all before my son had had his second birthday. I shook my head and it hung defeated. No way. No way. This is all of it? Really? I was frustrated. I needed more, and I needed to know who these women were as mothers themselves. I needed their stories, their biographies, their lessons and mantras, their shared wisdom. And I needed it urgently and collectively, and not just one or two personal accounts, but a tribe's worth. Who are they? How did they get to this point in their lives? What are they doing now? Are they having the time of their lives, or is there just something wrong with me? Are they finding meaningful work, or are they having to make do? Are they struggling? Are they fighting for a better way? What are they doing? Why are they doing it? And how are they doing it? I needed an authentic, followable, off-road map for an off-road mom. It was a natural fit since I had been writing my whole life. The idea came as an epiphany at my son's second birthday party, literally. I didn't know yet what shape or form the book would take, nor did I ever suspect what a colossal amount of work I just carved out for myself, in addition to my day job, school, and everything else. Now I know, I think, what the slaves felt like when they built the Colosseum. I just knew moms needed more of and from each other. A book about us, by us, and for us. Loaded with the viable tools of the trade, I recruited my very first mom that day at the park after my son's party. You can read her story in the chapter, The Performers and Warriors. Her name is Jen, and she is one hell of a woman and one hell of a mom. She's a great poet and actress, too. I searched high and low, looking for women of merit. I sought out moms of varied achievements, moms the world ignores as average or abnormal, and moms who were still struggling to achieve and survive while raising their kids right and with love. I have moms both well-known and obscure, moms from all walks of life, rockers, tattoo artists, Army and Navy veterans, writers, students, disabled, moms, strippers, PhDs, hairstylists, designers, icons, fast food workers, gardeners, business owners, Buddhists, artists, hip mamas, activists, photographers, queer mamas, laborers, teachers, boxers, atheists, firefighters, office workers, servers, pinups, poets, preachers, librarians, herbalists, painters, lovers, life livers, and more. Women with courage, attitude, conviction, and love. And maybe a few tattoos. Women whose lives and the meanings of their lives were completely the antithesis of what motherhood was supposed to transform us into. Quiet, obedient, hard-working superwomen. An upper-class deluxe edition model forced upon us all, yet ignoring our realities. Where are the children? Where are the communities? Where are the women in that? The moms in this book and I have struggled to achieve the balance and happiness portrayed by successful moms whose voices have become diluted and softened with privilege and power, or perhaps heavily edited out. We quickly realized why our voices largely didn't exist in print, in the magazines, and in the news. We would break the myth. I looked for Amazonian lions, and I found them. Mothers who were so much more than just mothers. Women who had had similar inner yearnings as I did. To achieve meaningful work while providing for our families, but in ways that will lead to a better world, a better place for all kids. We want a real village, damn it. Moms who had seemingly insurmountable odds stacked against them, but they had to find a way to make it, and with little support and few, if any, real examples to lead them. Some of them even had to find a better way while faced with severe circumstances and struggles. Discrimination, spiritual collapses, poverty, homelessness, the death of a child, domestic violence, disappointments, and addiction. These women share their stories of battle, overcoming depression, surviving sexual assaults, and confronting the legal system. Come here. You want to come and read? No? If you change your mind, let me know. And I've got a very fun book that's got some fun poetry in it. What's your favorite word? Play is one of my favorite words. You like to play? Build. That's another word I like too. I like to build. Yep. I saw you building a little structure earlier. Well, if you decide you want to play or build with me, let me know. I'll be right here for you, okay?
I want to make a letter.
Awesome. Can I read it when you're done? Okay. So these moms confront a lot of different situations, and they survive some pretty extreme environments as well. Getting out of abusive relationships, confronting the legal system and society that enables discrimination and sexual violence. They also share their triumphs, though, in parenting and all its varieties, from attachments, motivational, holistic, old-fashioned, on-schooling, and so forth. But most importantly, seeing their kids become wholesome and happy. They started bands, started businesses, got degrees, and created work that works for them. We have endured heart-wrenching tragedies and overcome self-destructive habits, worked on our empathy and compassion, built up our skill sets to be better people and better mothers. Some of us came from broken homes. Some of us came from abusive and neglectful ones. We needed to figure out a better way to do this right and with love and respect. Some of us were fortunate and came from great, loving, supportive homes, but chose a different path and felt isolated, alone. But we found as moms, we also have much to celebrate too. Making ends meet, seeing justice served, putting out records, launching indie startups with a lot of heart and very few pennies, getting promotions, writing books, doing something we love well, making our bodies and our identities our own, standing up for ourselves, our kids, and others, creating holistic support systems and community groups in our neighborhoods, having our children emerge as caring leaders to their peers, and redefining overall our successes and our values and on our own terms. Overall, are there others out there like us? The answer is yes. I suspect we are the majority, not the minority, contrary to the mainstream media images and stereotypes. My findings are based on the fact that many moms, including ones who appear normal, extremely successful or mainstream on the outside, have had significant interest in this project as well. The book I was published in, If Women Ruled the World in '04, supports this too. I have found we are all asking the same questions on the inside in all paths lead here. We're redefining ourselves in the face of the challenges of the mom stereotype being pushed upon us from seemingly everywhere. But instead of it transforming us into the Betty Crocker CEOs of tomorrow, we become the Amazons of today. We fight for our right to self-preservation, much like the infamous women at Troy in the Black Sea region. We fight to protect our children, our world, and our communities and our dreams, even in the midst of a backlash from a society that is owned by big business that needs moms that buy and moms that behave as workers, women, and mothers. The idea of us, rebel moms, as teachers, activists, veterans, feminists, rockers, businesswomen, rocks the boat. But ladies and gentlemen, the mother lionesses are out of their dens. We have children and a world to truly protect and invest in. I learned from all the women I reached out to about this project that they too were looking for a mentor, a map, if at least to help them know that there are other women and mothers raising the same questions, battling the same issues, and living or trying to with the same passion and gusto, all the while having to do it in a world that misunderstands us at best, mistreats us at worst. My vision for the book is that it will serve as a point of reference for mothers seeking new, modern role models and mentors, while providing an essential insight for hope and a reference of experience, and a cursory look into the lives of marginalized Amazon warrior moms. I know it will encourage mothers feeling locked into or out of the Betty CEO stereotype, or being put down as a worthless welfare mom. A way of seeking freedom and the tools to fight for it, whatever her battle may be. It begins with a feeling of something is wrong. I'm not content though the world tells me I should be. Many of the mothers in this book had to do heavy soul searching to define what the best way is for them to parent and to articulate this with my help in order to share their stories of hope, salvation, and endurance. They provide you with options, ideas, solutions, brainstorming, philosophies, and works in progress. Real mothering, real womanhood, real rebel moms. And the lady that we want to honor, who put on an incredible show last night, Sharon Needles, is in this book. And I'm just going to share some snippets from her story. And the chapter that she is in is The Rockers and Music Makers. Let's see. So page 174, that's Sharon Needles. She's played in Butt Trumpet, Betty Blowtorch, Stay at Home Bomb with Alice Bag, and then of course, most recently, Hell's Bells. Stay at Home Bomb takes the whole mom thing and housewife stuff and puts it into music. Our songs are about clotheslines, baking cookies, and we play solos with blenders on. The band is an ideal aggression toward the stereotype. They also, during some of their shows, they have thrown out cookies at people, coming back to that whole stereotype thing.
Goes well with the beer, doesn't it?
Yeah. and it definitely puts an interesting pun on the whole, rock stars throwing out drums and guitar picks.
Yeah.
So. And Sharon Needles, professionally, is an educator of Asperger teens. She's also a caregiver for infants with AIDS, mentor and counselor for runaway teens, and of course, awesome rhythm guitarist and bassist for the bands mentioned, and many, many more. Her list of bands that she's been in easily exceeds 20. She's had a very long, vibrant musical career. And she is a rocker, mother, and wife, all rolled up into one. She spends her days chasing a 2-year-old, working with children and teens, playing in a band, and hanging out with her friends and her husband. She has been, I stand corrected, in over 25 bands, of which some have been quite notorious, like Betty Blowtorch and Butt Trumpet. And in fact, the very first time I heard her record, I was 19 years old, and I got a Butt Trumpet record from my friend Polly. And so that kind of started my whole, I really like Sharon Needles thing. Never, when I listened to the record, especially, what is the song? You're So Ugly?
Yeah.
Never would have thought I would have been later discussing motherhood with her, fast forward 10 or 15 years. But, so she's been in over 25 bands, and as a child, she did master air guitar and was always pretending to play. So a definite hint of things to come. She picked up numerous instruments in school, joined choir, and she finally found her destiny when she started playing bass at the age of 17. Her first band, Flesh Weapon, was formed a year later and was influenced by the infamous Ramones and New York Dolls. Her guitar player taught her how to cheat on the bass by using half scales, going forwards and backwards on the strings. I have borrowed that myself, playing upright bass, and it's so much fun because it makes life really easy. Her first band lasted 3 years, and then she went through some more until she found a home with Butt Trumpet in 1993. Now here is a really fun fact about Butt Trumpet. They have an interesting relationship with the Gores. Anybody know what I'm hinting at? Is anybody? They have an interesting relationship with the Gores, and so does Ice-T.
I don't know the Gores.
Al Gore and
okay, right.
Were they banned?
Yes, they
Yes,
were.
Did Al Gore's wife make sure they had the parental warning?
You got it.
That's
You
cool.
get an A, young lady.
Okay, just remembered.
They were the first punk band to be signed by EMI since the Sex Pistols. In addition, they are known for their silly, offensive lyrics and antics. Titles of their songs include one that I won't say because there's a baby in the room. Another one, which I won't say because there's a baby in the room.
Actually, all of them.
Funeral Crashing Tonight, Pink Gun, I'm Ugly and Don't Know Why, and Primitive Enema. Lyrically speaking, some could group them in the same category as G.G. Allin, but with a significant difference. They were taking stabs in a fun way at sexism in society without even meaning to, and without having to throw feces at their audiences. Notable differences.
Yeah.
And they were the first punk band to be banned with Ice-T and others in Tripper Gore's pursuit of that passion. But the demise of the original Bunt Trumpet lineup occurred after the EMI record deal. Thom, the singer, quit the band. Fellow member Bianca stepped up and took over vocals. And EMI was really just trying to change everything. So that kind of just put a collar on them. And this was in 1995, so the band is still just 2 years young at this point. During this time, of course, the scrutiny under Tripper Gore censorship efforts became a big burden. And it was actually all due to Sharon, because she is the one who wrote the song Ugly that really made Tripper Gore just furious. She hated that song. And that's what really got her into listening to the other stuff and getting them on that band list. But interestingly, the song Ugly, which is a song where a young female tries to initiate her first sexual encounter and she's rebuffed for being ugly. The song cries that it all started in 3rd grade. She makes up for being ugly by getting back at those who put her down, essentially. So it's a humorous irony of getting back at those who bully you, with a musical wind to it. So after Butt Trumpet disintegrated, Sharon moved on to play with Lethal Weapon. The band was a generation ahead of her former one, but she'd gotten to know them previously on different tours and playing gigs together. Occasionally she would fill in for them, which led to her joining the band later. They were originally a Southern California band formed in the 80s. Sharon was excited to be playing with a band that she loved when she was a teenager. The band then did a European tour, and to quote Sharon precisely, playing in East Germany with them was interesting. There was no wall, the Berlin Wall, left anymore, but the whole vibe of the wall was still there in the cold cities. Broken down cars and abandoned police cars lined the streets. The club had to put up barricades to keep the Nazi skinheads out. I was really worried because I was dark-skinned and our bass player was black. Everybody in the club was anti-Nazi, but the threat of them busting through the barricades was real. The shows were some of the best I'd ever been a part of, though, because everybody was really into politics over there. It was nice to have conversations with everyone. Spain was also a very political place. I had a lot of good conversations about politics while drinking beer with everyone. Pat from Legal Weapon was there for this too. In 1998, when she got back home from the Legal Weapon tour, she and 3 of the former members of Butt Trumpet decided to forge a new band called Betty Blowtorch, which was more metal. The wild stage antics and sexually aggressive personas were turned up some too. We were a spirited and sarcastic band pushing 1980s sex, drugs, and rock and roll. The funny thing was that none of us did drugs. Some of us used to a long time ago, but here we are pushing the stereotype and doing the whole 80s thing and faking it. The whole sex thing was an act too. We were 4 prudes, but it was a fun persona. Their debut album was Get Off, which was produced by Guns N' Roses bassist Duff McKagan. The singer Bianca was molested as a child by her stepfather, and this was her FU ode to him. Betty Blowtorch gained a huge following all across the country, even though they received little airplay by any mainstream radio stations. They were known for opening their shows with "We're Betty Blowtorch" and "We're from Hollywood and we don't give a F." And so the story goes on to tell more about Betty Blowtorch, and then of course Sharon's film experience as well. She's been in films such as Bubble Boy, Sid and Nancy, which also had Courtney Love in it, Neon Maniacs, and What's Love Got to Do with It, with Ike and Tina, or about Ike and Tina rather. In fact, she was in a film, and I believe it was the Bubble Boy, but it has this gentleman, he's really funny. He played in that movie that just came out, Bad, ASS. Danny, I can't remember his last name right now, but he seems like a really swell guy. So the story goes on to tell a little bit more about her movie background as well. But we'll go ahead and move on to some more intimate information about Sharon. She met her husband Scott before the tragic accident occurred that took Bianca's life and Betty Blowtorch. He was the door guy, bartender at the club where the band frequently played. And of course, you know, it all started there, the club, flirting, and then they started dating, and next thing you know, they're married and have a baby. But they did wait a few years before getting married. They had always wanted kids, but Sharon wanted to play music until the last minute. Between their work schedules and the music, it just didn't seem like the right time to have a baby yet. Her husband had several jobs, including the club and video editing at a post-production company. Sharon's work, of course, is also very demanding and time-consuming, working as an educator and advocate for children with disabilities since she was 17 years old. Her band was her other full-time job. At times, she would like to be more politically involved, but she does feel the work she does caring for children with learning difficulties or social problems is a 9-to-5 advocacy. Sharon was born in Amsterdam and came over to the States as an adolescent. She still carries her green card and is not a U.S. citizen. She does not want to relinquish her rights as a citizen of Holland, so she's okay with her current U.S. status. She works with 9th graders that have Asperger's syndrome, which is similar to autism. But generally the causes are believed to be genetic. Sharon got into her line of work right after graduating from high school. Her first job was through an agency as a sitter for autistic children, of which some were blind or deaf. She was going to paralegal school, working with children, and working in a law firm. She knew ultimately she wanted to continue to work with kids with special needs and play music, so she made those her main focuses. I was on shift 24/7, and the agency didn't ask for much except for working with kids and being willing to watch kids with special needs. I went on to care for babies with AIDS. I later applied at the school district and started working with runaway teens. Most of the work with the teens was positive, taking them to universities, on walks, and playing basketball with them. I was able to listen and give advice and relate to a lot of them because of my interest in music. A lot of them were abused by one of their parents that used drugs or alcohol or didn't take care of them or kicked them out of the house. She loved working with kids and got used to some of the problems uniquely had by runaways, and also when working in a different setting, the challenges of caring for those with disabilities or terminal illnesses. But she never got used to losing one of them. She became attached to the children she cared for, and that was her job. But she was never prepared for them to die, even though she was supposed to be. One of her favorite kids, Ezekiel, whom she met 10 years ago, was a child with AIDS that she had been caring for since infancy. When he passed at the age of 2, it devastated her. She didn't know anything about his parents. They could have been dead or on drugs or in jail. He had been in this group home virtually since he was born. She and her husband later named their child Zeke in honor of him. Their son Zeke is now 4 years old, and she was working as a stay-at-home mother for the first year, but now works part-time with the school district in the special education department. When Zeke was only 3 months old, Sharon had to have open heart surgery to replace one of her valves. For 4 months post-surgery, she couldn't lift or hold him. It was incredibly hard for her, and it broke her heart. She found out about her heart problem originally while on tour with Betty Blowtorch, and then it was diagnosed as a mild heart valve problem from fever she had had as a child. A few months later, she had to have surgery. Her friend and bandmate Bianca's death occurred shortly thereafter. As a mother, her hopes for Zeke are simple: for him to be happy and respectful of everyone. She wants him to find what makes his heart happy and to go for it. She thinks if she gives him her love, encouragement, and support, as well as by living by example, she'll be able to instill this. Mothering has been the best experience for her, and and she wishes sometimes that she would have started earlier. But it has also been full of challenges. She loves being a mom, though, more than anything else. Her husband works nights, and she works days. Zeke is at Montessori school while she works, and her husband and her literally meet at a halfway point and swap the kid every day. That's the only way that they can manage childcare and still put food on the table. So it's been interesting. And then generally Zeke goes to band practice with her after work, and then Daddy goes to work at that point. Her current band at the time of this writing was Stay at Home Mom, and they play once or twice a month, but they have tons of fun doing it. They are a whimsical, sarcastic group of rockers with blacked out teeth, rollers in their hair, and they threaten you with burnt cookies. Their stage antics are reminiscent of war, but in line with the stay-at-home mom grimace. Imagine the lunatics suddenly armed with strollers, diapers, and bottle grenades. The other band members are Alice Armendariz of the infamous late 70s LA punk band The Bags, also known as Alice Bags, Lisa Flores, and Judy Malash from Betty Blowtorch. Their stage names are Betty Blender, Judy Polish, Martha Stewart, and Sharon Sewing Needles. They're very yeah. Their very first album was released in the fall of '04, and of course you can still hear their music today at alicebags.com, or contact, of course, the record label Warren Label Records for a record. Some of Sharon's favorite bands and musicians are AC/DC, perfect because Hell's Bells, Dead Boys, Plasmatics, Adolescents, Kiss, Aereo, BITCH, Al Green, and 999. When Sharon isn't playing with her band or rocking out to tunes by the bands that she loves, she enjoys hanging out with her family and reading. Currently, she is reading a book called Cinderella's Big Score, Women of the Punk and Indie Underground. It's a book written by Maria Raha, and it's about women like Sharon and the women who came before her. It is a documentary of women who shaped rock and punk that were neglected or sidelined, like most women in every field, from their male counterparts. I later checked it out, and after we interviewed, and it's an awesome book. I strongly recommend it. Her family usually spends the weekends going to barbecues and surfing. They love traveling, but will gladly spend weekends at the beach or at Disneyland. In addition to rocking and challenging the Betty Crocker mom stereotype, Sharon is going to keep doing what she loves best. I'm expecting that being a mother will continue to be the hardest thing I'll ever love to do. And that's it. Do you guys have any questions about the book?
Was your intention to be as comprehensive as it ended up being, or you just kind of build bit by bit?
Initially I thought it was going to be like a real simple kind of roadmap thing. Maybe a couple pages per mom. And I definitely thought it was going to be a much lighter material. But so I interviewed probably over 100 moms in the 4 years of interviewing, of which I narrowed it down to approximately 50 for the book, because they definitely had to be role model material. By that, whatever big problems they had, they've already worked through, and they've transformed it into something positive. And there was just such a amount of variance that I wanted to break it down specifically, so that, let's say we had someone in the room who was struggling with an addiction, and they're a mom, and they're needing something specific to that. Okay, that story's in here. Or a mom who, grew up with great parents, great home, and suddenly found herself, as a young mother in a verbally abusive situation. How did she get out of that and then launch a really awesome retro salon? Her story's in here. Another mom who, as a teenager, battled with anorexia, all of her friends, And they finally said, you know what, screw you, Cosmo. We're really into Impressionism and curves, and we're going to paint. And that, of course, segued her getting into a lot of 80s pop and other things that were positive. So there's a lot of variance. But, no, I didn't think it was going to be as big or as in-depth as it was. Had I known, I would have just gone to the Bahamas instead.
I've got a question.
Yes, sir.
From all the people that you interviewed, what did you find, like, that they would say, like, what should I say? What would you, from the answers, what would you keep hearing, you know, like, what was something that maybe a majority of them would keep talking about that helped them, you know what I mean? What question I'm trying to say?
I think,
Yeah.
perhaps,
What would come up the most frequently?
it's hard as hell.
Yeah.
And working mother lied to me. And I'm kind of being a little sarcastic there. But that it wasn't what they thought it was going to be, it was nothing like that.
Yeah.
And I was naive too. When I was pregnant with Corbin, you are going to laugh, but I honestly envisioned myself sitting at a coffee shop writing poetry as he's this perfect little quiet bundle that's content. Practically with a beret on in a stroller. That's what I saw.
Yeah.
You know, that was the life that I was stepping into.
Yeah.
He was hell on wheels. Hell on wheels. I had other moms at the park when he was 2 that would look at me, and they have like 5 kids. I have 1, and they would ask me, "Oh, how do you do it, you poor girl?" Because he would literally hit the playground up and down, run, crash the soccer game, play for a bit, then crash a birthday party, and then we start again. It was like this huge, it's like what Hollywood Hills park. And oh my gosh, his tantrums. And nothing prepares you for it. Not honestly. And so, now granted, there's a lot of new material that's out, that's emerged in the last few years, and I'm so grateful for that. But that's one of the reasons why I wrote this book. And then I also got stared at a lot, you know. It was less common then to be a mom with tattoos and, you know, maybe bright colored hair or strong opinions. So I got a lot of, you know, I got a lot of crap. Plus, where I live, it's kind of used to be a kind of a class stifled area. It still is in some ways. So, I don't know, does that?
Yeah, I guess so.
Okay.
I'm just interested in, like, of the people you interviewed, like, was there a common thing that they all would have said for them to cope with their situation? You know, like, any common motivational things that they did, or, you know?
At that point, there was not a commonality
Yeah.
as far as
Just
things that
everyone
they
handled
did
it
to cope.
in their own separate ways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and each story kind of touches on that, you know,
Yeah.
things that you can do. For example, in the first chapter, the activist and the feminist, Dr. Taj Anwar, she was struggling with lack of support and resources, as well as she had reached out to a few support groups and got kind of treated with, she was treated condescendingly, you know, as a mom with dreads and piercings. And so she, you know, she said, screw this. So she started Mothers of Black and Brown Babies, which is a street activist team. And there's chapters all throughout the United States. And what they do is it's a nonprofit. You can apply to volunteer, get college credits, because there's field work you do with new moms. But that's what her solution was to that feeling of isolation and being treated as a second-class citizen. And she's phenomenal. Yeah. MOB also has annual conferences, educational whole-being workshops, community drives and events, and a sharing network for helping moms meet each other's needs. An intern volunteer program for college students focusing in the areas of psychology and social work. MOB's self-described definition is pro-choice, pro-children, anti-hate, anti-war, anti-hunger, anti-police brutality, anti-racism, anti-sexism, anti-domestic violence, pro-love, pro-life, pro-peace, pro-hip-hop. So every mom has something that they did to kind of facilitate their solution. And the really cool thing about Rebel Moms is it's all laid out and shared for you. So no matter where you are in life, or what process you're going through, there's a mom in here that will resonate with you completely, as well as other women that you can enjoy and learn from. And do you have any children?
No.
Okay. If the day comes that you ever become a parent, Rebel Moms really opens up a Pandora's box on rebellion parenting.
Yeah.
So it can definitely help any parent with that. And then to close, I do have the Chronicles with me. And this was a very light write, luckily. This was in a simulation of work from like the last 5 years in between, dealing with the collapse and renewal of my marriage, the struggles of selfishness and sacrifice. They kind of suck sometimes and conflict, and then the loss of my father. But there's lots of archaeology laced throughout the pages, a lot of antiquity poetry, and then also activist work, and then just some spitfire stuff. So I'll just close with the Modern Athena, which is a poem that definitely ties into the Rebel Moms theme. The modern, I think I need some more water. The modern Athena is seeing the world through 21st century eyes. She is the cervix worker, the muted maid, the discarded wife, the burned lover, the overworked mother, the denied peacemaker and artist. Thank you. With battle cries, she wages her campaign. She feels caged, stuck in Walmart pinstripes and promises of 401ks, 6 weeks FMLA. Still making much less for doing the same. Family-friendly work policies just really mean suck it up, take your pump to the bathroom with your powder and your tampon, blood and milk mix becoming nuclear. The modern Athena views democracy sexism as a failure. She has been waiting for progress for thousands of years. Now she's ready for war. Revenge for the destruction of the sacred Amazon temple and everything sacred since. She prepares for battle, sharpening her swords and her wit. She calls for the new supper with her Amazons, and her audience is the modern woman. Her agenda is to slaughter the ASS grabbers, the rapists, the bosses who make a woman choose between work and a needy or sickly child again and again, the bosses who want you to give life, liberty, soul, and death, all in return for just a meager paycheck. The earth plunderers, the underpayers, the exploiters, the unfair lawmakers. Congress will be burned red. Every man on those seats who have not done women and children right will be destroyed and forgotten. Every father, husband who has not respected his wife and daughters will be blinded. Every tongue that soiled women's name and hindered humanity's progress will be cut out. The modern Athena won't just be the next president, but rule immortal with the heart of Leonidas and Gorgo, the mind of Boudica and her tribes, the military brilliance of Alexander, the aim of Artemis, and the intellect of Hypatia. The modern Athena is many. She will not be subdued, overruled, or torn apart by wicked leaders, or built up by material gods. Her temples will no longer contain her. She will take the sons back from the corruption of patriarchy, giving them birth anew, fathers like Bachhoven and Theon, mentors like E.R. Meade, Stanton, California, Chicago, Walker, Clinton. Amazonian mothers and queens from all over the globe. The modern Athena's eyes are heavy and somber. No more Vietnams, no more African genocides, no more dowries, no more gang rapes, no more corporate genocide, no more stoning, no more hungry children, no more neglected children, no more latchkey kids, no more deadbeat dads, no more oil for water, cutthroat corn and potatoes. Life is slipping away from women who have been overruled. Women with no rooms, women whose voices have been silenced with violence, whose daughters and sons have been ignored and rejected, except by property ownership marriage and enslavement motherhood. A man's in-house play bunny. The sons taunted and tormented by fathers, uncles, leaders, teachers, friends, into the macho mold until they too can repeat the pattern of the past on tomorrow's wives, lovers, mothers, and daughters. The modern Athena spits back. She is giving birth to a new creed, a new race. Her afterbirth will give us Atlantis redeemed, Lesbos reborn. She is going to take her battle axe and kill Zeus. Thank you guys for coming.
Do you guys have any other questions? I just can't wait to read your second book, and the first one was just, you asked about comprehensiveness, and it's, it's covered so much that needs to be covered and documented, and I'm just really putting out there, and I'm gonna make sure a lot of people see it, regardless if they didn't make it in here today, and it's needed, obviously. I hope, I'm sure you know that. It's very, 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 very needed.
Awesome.
And many more tales are to be told still.
Thank you.
Can you tell us about the film project today?
Oh, yes.
You hinted at it, so.
The film project is it's going to be approximately 20 to 30 minutes. It's going to have some snippets from the moms, essentially focusing on 3 questions. What do they like most about Rebel Moms? What are the 3 things as moms in the book that they want new moms to take away from their stories? And then how do they think Rebel Moms can help make the world a better place for parents and children alike? One really cool perspective we're getting is from a new mom that just moved to Saudi Arabia. And it's a transition for her. And she's actually from Austin. And so she's, looking at it from that angle. How can Rebel Moms help empower children and women in Saudi Arabia? And then, of course, we have Sharon Needles' cake from last night. And then, so it's just kind of a fun little clip that we're doing for Network Awesome in California.
How will it be available then? Will it?
Yeah, I'm going to be posting it online in probably
Okay.
a few weeks.
Okay.
And I'll make sure that you get a copy of it as well. And it's kind of just a casual YouTube
Okay.
type short film.
Okay.
I've got some friends that are in filming and production, and they're doing some of their work on it. We're going to dress it up